our constitution has 12 schedules as of now. तो 12 ऐसे schedules हैं, and in all those schedules we have kept separate things. Let me tell you what are there. Let's take schedule 1. So schedule 1 of the Indian constitution talks about the names of all the states which India has. It is mentioned in the schedule 1. Your state is Bihar, your state is UP, your state is Andhra Pradesh. So the names of all the schedules are mentioned in the names of all the states are mentioned in the schedule 1, right? Then you have schedule 2. You can say the list of territories of India is mentioned here in the schedule 1, right? Then schedule 2 talks about emoluments, salaries of different constitutional posts. That includes president, that includes governor, that includes chairman and speakers of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Legislative Council, Legislative Assemblies, CAG. In सब की salaries, judges of High Court and Supreme Court, these are mentioned in the second schedule. So you can say the emoluments to various constitutional posts. Emoluments to various constitutional posts. It is mentioned under schedule 2. Now schedule 3. Schedule 3 talks about oaths. That various person, you might have seen, you might have observed that Prime Minister before going to office is taking oath. Ministers before going to office is taking oath. Judges of India before going to office, before joining the office is taking certain oath. President of India also subscribed to a kind of oath before joining or resuming his work. There are oaths. Oaths of President of India and Vice President is not given in schedule 3. They are mentioned in their respective articles. The oath of the President of India is mentioned under Article 60. But for the other constitutional posts like Ministers of Union, these are mentioned where? In the schedule 3. So we say oaths and affirmations are mentioned where? In the schedule 3. Now schedule 4. We have discussed that India is a federal system. India is a federal system that establishes a dual polity at the center level and the state level. So at the state level, suppose that if you are at a bigger level, then you must have certain representation from the lower level. So at the union, we have what is parliament. At union, we have what? Parliament. This parliament has 2 chambers. One is Lok Sabha and another is Rajya Sabha. So Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, right? What is the purpose of the Rajya Sabha? The main purpose of the Rajya Sabha is to represent the voice of the states, the views of the state, the lower federal unit of our country. So it is also known by the name what? Council of States. It is also known by the name Council of States. यही उसका ओरिजिनल नाम है, Council of States. The Hindi name was later included in 1954. So in Council of State, I am saying that you have representations from various of the states. So on what basis you are going to give this representation on? Let's take an example of United States. The United States is also having the same format, bicameralism at the union center. So there are 2 houses, House of People, and this house, the upper house is called Senate, right? So in the United States Senate, every state has got 2 seats. Every state has got 2 seats. So they are providing equality in terms of reservation, absolute equality in the terms of reservation to every state. That is why they are called true federation. But we are not going by that mathematics. What we are doing is, we are fixing a number depending upon the population which is present in the particular state. So based upon the population which particular state is carrying, each of the state has been allotted certain seats in the Council of State, that is Rajya Sabha. And that allocation is mentioned in where? 4th schedule, right? Allocation of seats in Rajya Sabha. and this is not uniform. This is not uniform for each state. The UP has the largest, Goa, northeastern states, these are having least one seats from each. The UP has a representation of 31, because you compare the population of Goa and that of UP, there is a huge difference. So accordingly, the number of representation they are getting will be different also, because we have taken population as a criteria. United States has taken absolute equality among the states as a criteria. So they have given 2 seats for each of the states. But what we are going to give is state-wise differential allocation based on the population. Now we are going to use these 2 schedules, Schedule 1 and Schedule 4, in our discussion of today about union and its territories. That whenever you will change any part of territory of India, their representation in the seats will also change. Suppose that UP is having 31 seats. Now you bifurcate UP into East UP and West UP. There is creation of 2 new states by bifurcating one. So this 31 shall get divided now, because overall seat of the Rajya Sabha is not going to change. So accordingly, it will have a change. If there is any reorganization of the state, that will have a bearing on the 4th schedule also. Now earlier there was only one name, UP. If you talk about all the names of the India's state are mentioned where? Schedule 1. Now you are creating 2 new states. So you will have to delete UP and you will have to mention 2 new. So this will also change Schedule 1. So any change, any reorganization in the states is going to change 2 schedule for sure. One is Schedule 1 and one is Schedule 4. Right? So this is why I thought to tell you about the schedule. And once we have started, so let's go till 12th schedule. Right? So Schedule 5. Schedule 5 is having the provisions regarding what? Tribal areas, scheduled tribes and tribal areas. So there are certain states which is having the population of scheduled tribes, scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. So this is given where? Scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Now there is a difference between Schedule 5 and Schedule 6. Both are almost trying to do the same thing, but the basic characteristic difference is Schedule 6 is applicable only on limited number of states. There are other differences also, we'll read about them. But these are also talking about the protection to the scheduled areas, scheduled tribes. The purpose is to protect, give certain protection to whom? Scheduled tribes. But this can be applied to any state which is having population of scheduled tribes. But this Schedule 6, the provisions of Schedule 6 can only be applied to 4 states. Those are Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Assam, Meghalaya, Schedule 6, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. So this Schedule 6 will apply to these 4 states. Purpose of both the schedules are similar, but the modus operandi, the way they are providing the provisions is different. Schedule 6 is providing for a highly greater autonomy. They are providing for a creation of autonomous district council, which is a kind of a smaller government at the local level. They have the legislative powers, they have the administrative power, they have the power to decide also, settle the criminal disputes also. Those are the mini government at the very regional level, autonomous district council. So these are applicable only to these 4 states, right? Now Schedule 7 contains about the federal principles of India, the division of legislative powers. Upon what subject union can legislate, upon what subject states can legislate, upon what subject both can concurrently legislate. So these are provided in the forms of 3 lists. These we call union list, state list and concurrent list, right? So these are provided under Schedule 7. Schedule 7 talks about the federal distribution of powers. Now we have done Schedule 9, Schedule 8, This Schedule 8 contains the list of officially recognized languages for the various states. So official languages are contained where? 8th schedule, official languages. Now until Schedule 1 to Schedule 8, from Schedule 1 to Schedule 8, these were mentioned in the original constitution, which was enforced on 1950. Now other four schedules, 9, 10, 11 and 12, were later inserted into our constitution by various amendments. Right? Okay. So first of these amendments are in the form of Schedule 9. These are on this 9th schedule. It is prescribing for what? 9th schedule. किसी को आइडिया है 9th schedule में क्या है? 9th schedule is giving certain exemption to certain laws, that even if they are violative of fundamental rights, they will not be held unconstitutional. So these laws basically meant to implement the land reforms in India. Now consider the one situation that we had earlier right to property as a fundamental right. पहले हमारे पास right to property एक fundamental right था. Now state wanted to implement land reforms. State wanted to redistribute the land so that there is equitable distribution of wealth. So for that redistribution, government needed to create a land ceiling, that a person cannot hold more than this much of land for agricultural purposes. Now one side you are telling that right to property is inalienable from your citizens. You cannot take away someone's land because it is their fundamental right. On the other side, you are expecting a state to implement land reforms, go for the redistribution of wealth. These both were contradicting to each other. So now there was one schedule which was created. Now Parliament told that if any of the acts, if any of the laws which is placed in the 9th schedule that will even violate some of the fundamental right, it cannot be held unconstitutional. Ideally, वो उसमें डिफरेंस है बिकॉज आफ्टर 24th of April 1973 इफ एनी एक्ट इज प्लेस्ड इन द 9th शेड्यूल इट इज ओपन टू जुडिशियल, उस पर जुडिशियल रिव्यू होगा. बट एनी एक्ट विच इज प्लेस्ड बिफोर 24th of April, दैट इज द केस वन इन द भारतीय जजमेंट, उससे पहले जो भी एक्ट उसमें डाल दिए हैं दे आर इम्यून फ्रॉम जुडिशियल रिव्यू. राइट? बिकॉज while interpreting this 9th schedule, Supreme Court told you cannot give blanket immunity to any of the acts. By doing this, you will violate the judicial review, which is the basic structure of our constitution. Okay. So 9th schedule was enacted by 9th schedule was inserted by our very first amendment act, first amendment to our constitution in 1951 itself, and they are protecting certain land reforms laws. They are validating certain laws. Validating certain laws based on the land reforms. Now you must have heard about various kinds of news. After an election, if there is no clear-cut majority, suppose that there are 4 parties contesting and none of them got a clear majority of more than 50%, 1 plus 1, then what should be the way forward? How the government will form? Either they can do coalition, but none of them are even agreeing on coalition. Re-election is the ideal purpose, ideal way out. But in the meanwhile also there is a situation when one of the party which is just near to the majority will try to buy the legislator from others. This is called horse trading, right? This is quite rampant in our politics. But ideally it should not be, because that involves the element of money in the politics, and money should be kept aside from the politics, because people, the mandate of the people should not be mixed with the power and might of the criminals and the money, dirty money. So people gave mandate to each of the party, however fragmented mandate may be, but that is the mandate of the people. Now what alternative ways they are looking for? They will buy certain legislator and try to include them in their own party. This was quite frequent. this leads to instability of the government. Now, suppose that even if there is a particular government which has got just a majority, 50% plus one, suppose that there is a election and that is for 100 seats. One particular party got 51, other particular party got 48, and someone got 2-3 seats. जितने बच गए उतने आगे उसको. Right? There were 3 parties. Now this party has very closely formed the government. This is just far away from the government. Right? Now, if they are forming a government and after 1 year, what happens? That they will try to influence 1 or 2 legislators from here. And they force them to resign from the party. What happens? The government fails. The government will fall. Just by that, they will give certain greed of money to them. कुछ पैसे के लालच में वो रिजाइन कर सकते हैं और गवर्नमेंट गिर जाएगी. So there were situations of instability. There was a popular phrase in Haryana called Aya Ram and Gaya Ram. There was a person who switched the political party within 5 years 3 times. And in every government, he was a minister. For his one particular gains, his one personal gains, he was not even reluctant to compromise on the stability of the government. So finally, Parliament ought to put an end to it. And Parliament tried to enact the anti-defection law. So defection is a process once the people, once the legislator who has won on the particular party ticket and then switches his party or resigns from his particular party, he stands disqualified from the house. Then the majority will be counted what? Minus vacancy. The government will be stable. Right? So this is called anti-defection law. And 10th schedule prescribes for that anti-defection. 10th schedule prescribes for this anti-defection and it was inserted by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act in the year 1985. 52nd Amendment Act 1985. So these were the 10th schedule, and again it came to 1993 when we had to implement the Panchayati Raj system in India. We enacted 73rd Amendment Act and 74th Amendment Act. These two amendments later added 2 more schedules to our Indian Constitution, that is 11th schedule and 12th schedule. So 11th schedule has been added by 73rd Amendment Act and 12th schedule has been added by 74th Amendment Act. 11th schedule is prescribing for local government in the rural areas, that is Panchayati Raj system, and the 12th schedule is talking about local self-government in the urban areas, that is municipality. Right? So these are the 12th schedule which have been time and again included, and up till schedule 8 it was in the original constitution. Okay? And in our discussion today we are going to discuss about schedule 1 and schedule 4, right? Schedule 1 and schedule 4. Schedule 10. 1976 में क्या आया? नहीं 1993 में आया है. That is 73rd amendment. It is in effect from 1993. 24th of April 1993 that we celebrate Panchayati Raj Day in India. 24th of April को बहुत सारे काम हुए थे. 50 साल पहले Kesavananda Bharati judgment came on this day. So day before yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Kesavananda Bharati judgment. And 50 साल पहले सचिन भी पैदा हुआ. ठीक है, तो 2 बड़े काम हो गए थे देश में एक ही दिन. राइट, so these are the 12 schedules of our Indian Constitution. चलो इसको डिटेल में पढ़ना है. वैसे ORN में जब भी आप लोग एक्सपीरियंस हो जाओगे ना, तो एक नेमोनिक्स है, टीयर्स ऑफ ओल्ड पीएम. सुना है? टीयर्स ऑफ ओल्ड पीएम शब्द है. शेड्यूल्स को रटने का एक तरीका है. T for territories, E for emoluments, A oaths and affirmations, R is your seats in the Rajya Sabha, S schedule areas, ठीक है, O for other tribal areas, Other tribal areas, these are the other tribal areas. O. F for federal structure. Tiers of O, official languages. L for land reforms, है ना. D, नहीं तो O L, D for defection, D for anti defection, old, P for panchayati raj, and M for municipalities. So this will give you a mnemonics to remember the 12th schedule which is given where, tiers of old PM. बड़ा पॉपुलर है, सबको पता होता है एक साल के बाद यहाँ पे.